Hey, I'm Matthew Giorgio. How do we learn about debt and equity financing using a simulation? Debt and equity financing can be a little bit of a difficult subject for a lot of entrepreneurs to understand, especially when they're new. And what we do is in our simulation that you're looking at here, this is a Go Venture Entrepreneur, incredibly realistic small business startup and operation simulation. We allow the players to actually finance their business through debt or equity financing and experience the direct consequences and benefits of using the two different approaches. So let's have a look at how we do that here. So I'm going to go to the finance screen. Here we've got all sorts of options like payables and receivables and so on. Anything from related to accounting is here. But I'm going to jump to seed financing first. So when you start your simulated business, we actually give you virtual money, enough just to get started, a little bit of working capital. So in this case, you can see we provided $35,000, and we tell you that this is based on your personal savings, and that goes into shareholder equity. So we try to make it easy on startups so you don't have to deal too much with debt equity too soon because you may not be ready to really understand it yet. So we just use your personal savings to do that, simulated savings, of course. And then while you're running your business, here's what's going to happen. One of two things. One is you may realize that you want to grow a little bit more aggressively, but your cash flow is not available to do that, so you want to raise money to do that. The other thing that could happen is maybe you're not doing as well as you'd like, you're falling behind on your bills, and you need to raise some money to kind of bridge yourself until you get more successful financially. And both of those options are available in the simulation. So let's go to loans. And here we can access debt financing. And what we can do is we can ask for a certain amount of money. Let's put in $10,000 just as an example. And we're going to amortize that over a certain period of time. So let's ask for 19 weeks. Now we use weeks for amortization in this simulation because the simulation moves quickly, moves in simulated days. And normally you might play for a number of simulated months. So we accelerate the amortization to weeks as opposed to the real world, which may often be months or years. And so again, we're trying to make it realistic and have you have that full experience from the initial start of the debt or the financing to the actual retirement of that financing. And so here I'm going to ask for $10,000. You'll notice it actually automatically calculates things like my interest rates, and both in terms of APR, but also the total amount that I'll end up paying as well. And now I can apply for this loan. And you can see I've been denied the loan because it's telling me the maximum principal allowed is $2,560. Now, where does $2,560 come from? Well, it actually comes from my debt to equity ratio, and you can see it's actually right here. And so the simulation doesn't just give me whatever money I want, because that would be unrealistic. So what it does is it checks my actual debt to equity ratios of my simulated business. It also checks how long I've been in business as well. Do I have some history? And then it calculates a maximum allowed principal, in addition to also considering the amortization period, right? So if I stretch something over a longer period of time, my payments are lower, so I might be able to get approved for a slightly higher principal if I stretch out the payments over a longer period of time. So the simulation uses intelligence behind the scenes that's very realistic, just like a real world lender might do. And so now I know I can't get 10,000. Let's just try 2,000, see what happens. We're going to apply. All right, it's been approved. Excellent. So now I can go to my loan history and I can see the details of my loan. I can view all of the details on how I've been paying the loan over time. Of course, I've just got the loan, so I haven't made any payments yet, but I can see all the details here. And I can actually get multiple loans and track them all separately using these detailed interfaces that are available here. Now, that's debt financing. Let's talk about equity financing, which is stock or ownership in a business. So how do we do that here? Well, we set a value on the business. So whenever you create a corporation, an LLC, and you automatically are setting a value on your business based on the shareholder equity that's in that business. And so in this particular case, my business is only a few days old, but it's generally around $100,000 valuation. And it determined that based on the cash that was put into the business, but also the fact that I'm committed to work in the business and perhaps not even take a salary for quite some time. So the valuation is set using some intelligence behind the scene. And then I have a share price based on that valuation. And what I can do now is I can sell shares to virtual investors. So I could sell maybe 1,000 shares. That's going to give me, at $1.05 share price, is only going to give me just over $1,000. And I can't sell, by the way, more than 50% of my business because then I'll lose control, and we don't want to get into that complexity yet. But I can choose how many shares I want to sell, and then I can sell those shares to those investors. And if those investors accept this deal, they will become shareholders in the business, and I have to pay them out dividends. So dividends is a percentage of profits. So every week, and again, we're accelerating this because it's a simulation. In the real world, you might only pay dividends out quarterly or yearly, but in a simulation, because we want to make it a learning experience, we actually calculate the profit each week of your business, and a percentage gets paid out to those shareholders based on the shares that they own. And as I run my business and become more successful, more profitable, and increase my retained earnings in the business, the valuation increases. So that valuation is actually based on the equity calculated from my balance sheet in the business itself. And as I increase my profit and my retained earnings, that equity increases and my valuation increases and my share price increases as well. So if I try to sell shares later when my business has a higher valuation, I'll be able to sell at a better price, better for the company, so that the company is not being diluted, or in this case, it's me being diluted because I own 100% of the business initially, my virtual business. I don't get diluted as much when I sell shares. And we talked about balance sheet a moment ago. We actually have balance sheets and all sorts of reports built into the simulation, automatically generated right here. And I can see what those equity values are over time. And we have P&L statements, everything you'd imagine. But this is how we teach debt and equity financing in a highly realistic simulation, like you see here, Go Venture Entrepreneur. I'm Matthew Giorgio. businessXP is the fastest and most inspiring training ever invented for future business leaders and entrepreneurs. Discover game-based experiential learning at business-xp.com.